and I may be in trouble again. So surely goodness and mercy. But God said, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then will I hear from heaven. I will forgive their sin and heal their land. How did their land get sick? Because he called heaven and earth as a witness against them, and heaven couldn't provide and earth couldn't receive. Now let's break it down to you. Your mind, if you allow it to be all it's supposed to be, is heaven on earth. And you can have heaven on earth. God said in Isaiah 26:3, I will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on me. Perfect peace. There's perfect peace in heaven. You can have this mind settled down to where you'll have perfect peace. And if your mind is right, he said, if you believe and think like Christ, there is nothing impossible for you. You know what that means? There's no disease that could not be healed in your body if your mind is right. That's right. That's what the word says. Now, I know that's a little bit deep because you think that only Dr. Smallfungus can heal your disease. He can give you whatever medicines you need. But you don't believe that the power of God can reside in a mind that is the mind of Christ, and your mind can cause your DNA to change and cause disease to go out of your body. Jesus did it all the time. And then he said, greater works than I have done will you do because I'm going to my Father. And then he prayed, Father, I pray that they get my mind and become one. When God called heaven and earth to work against the children of Israel, that meant that they were not going to prosper. And everything up under the sun was going to come at them because they had not stayed in the right place in their mind. Now all they had to do was just obey. God told them, don't get over there with the pagans, don't make any idols, and don't offer your children in sacrifice to the fire. And just want you to stay out of the pagan systems of worship that they get involved in. If you do that, you should be doing all right. They really didn't even have to have all the spiritual dynamics that we talk about today. Only a few things. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And God said, if you do that, stay out of these pagan stuff, I'll bless you and make you the head and not the tail. Israel said, I hear what he's saying, but they sure seem to be having a lot of fun over there. They seem to be having a good time. Man, look at that party they're having. Look at all that food they got. Man, they got wine everywhere. Look at them dancing girls. So Israel said, hey, God, it ain't a whole lot of fun. God said, you don't understand. I want to put you in charge of the whole earth. And then you can I give you the most beautiful women. I will give you the nicest cars. He said, I'm going to give you the top line, top notch everything. He said, I'm going to send you into a land that flows with milk and honey. I'm going to send you into a land called Canaan land. When they went into Canaan land, the grapes were so big. Grapes were big as apples. They had to put them on a stick between their shoulders and bring them out. Now, that's how that land was. That's what God told them they were going to have. So that means that everything God has for you is really supposed to be bigger than the world's. But the world is enjoying it, but God said, I'm going to run them off of it and give it to you. But Israel, when they went in there, they came back, 12 spies, 10 of them said, we can't take that land. There are giants in there. We cannot mess with those boys. And Joshua and Caleb, they said, we're well able to take that land because we want some of those grapes. We want some of those huge apples they got in there. So, man, we can take one apple and make a pie. So they wanted that land and knew they could take it. So Joshua and Caleb, they went back in there. And God told the 10, he said, listen, you all can't go. I reject y'all because you don't trust me to defeat that. Now, folks, all I'm saying to you is that I'm coming to a place of understanding that I can do a lot more than I've been doing. I can go a lot further than I have gone. And God will do more in me than I ever thought if I trust him. Some things he will hook up for me because of my ignorance, just by grace and mercy. Because I don't know any better. And he'll send grace and mercy, say, all right, the boy has no clue, grace and mercy. And he'll fix it for me. And then other things I've started to learn because I am willing and I acquiesced. He said, okay, now I want you to keep working because I want your mind to develop. I want your mind to go beyond that short-sightedness. And as you acquiesce and start to listen, then you start to make intelligent decisions. Why does he want you to make intelligent decisions? So you'll be like Christ. Christ does not want to run around here like you in preschool and have to tell you every little thing to do. He said, I want you to develop a mind to where you know how to think like me, and you intelligently know what needs to be done in that situation. That's what he's saying. He said, but now, if I shut up heaven and I don't let the earth yield her fruit, he said, then you're going to have to do one or two things. You're going to either have to come back to me, or you're going to become totally dependent on whoever oppresses you. And they're going to control you. And you're going to walk around and think that you got it all together. But if they decide to close the gas station, you get no gas. If they decide to close the Food Lion, you get no food. If they decide to stop you on the highway, you pull over. We don't even understand what he's trying to tell us. He said, if I shut up heaven, now see, if heaven is open, when he decides to put the blue light on you, angels come and say, you don't bother him. And all of a sudden, he pulls on by you. If heaven ain't working with you, then all your little stuff goes crazy. You need heaven to be on your side. And then you need earth to yield her substance. And if God reigns, you see, we don't understand the principle of money. Money is more spiritual than it is physical. Because the paper money you got, it ain't worth nothing. They print it just because they got paper and ink. That's why we got all this debt. And they say, well, you know, the government is $1 trillion in debt. That's just because they keep printing money, that's all. Paying rich folk, that's all. That's all they do. And see, what you don't understand is that the Internal Revenue Service is not a federal system. It's a private bank. And what they do, they tell America, you print your money and write us an IOU and we'll back it. So what they do, this is how it works. I tell Ravonda, you go ahead and get you a car. You pay for it, but I just sign a note saying, if you don't pay for it, I'll pay for it. But you're going to work and pay for it. Otherwise, I'm going to take it out your check. IRS. Now, if she does not, now this is what happens. She's going to pay for it, but I'm going to write this note saying, if you don't pay for it, I'll pay for it. So I'm backing her, and I charge her interest on money I did not put in the car. That's the IRS. That's what that thing is. It's a private bank. And what God said now, so that stuff comes out of the spirit. That's just play money. But people will kill you over it, so you got to have it, because that's the way this system works. But God said, I will open heaven. You know what that means? He said, I will multiply what you have. I'll make it go further than you ever thought it would go. I'll give you favor with the enemy. So when you go in and say, listen, I need to buy that car, and I need to pay this for it. No, we can't sell it for that. We got to have this for it. Then you say, heaven, here's this car on earth that needs to be watered. Here's this salesman that needs to hear from you because he didn't want to hear me. And then you do what you do and let the Holy Spirit deal with him, because God said, I've got a heaven that's open for you. And then before you know it, you say, well, okay, I'll just go somewhere else. And then before you know it, he's calling you saying, I talked with my sales manager. That's always a deal. Let me go talk with my sales manager. He knew what the deal was before you went and talked to him. They just go over there and they talk about golf for a minute. And then he come back, well, my sales manager said so-and-so and so and so and so. It's a game. It's a game. But when God opens heaven, angels can descend on their greedy demons and tell them, get off him, get off him, get off him, and make him think normally, then your stuff changes. But if God shuts heaven and earth, you pay 19-20% interest. But we say, oh, God is blessing. I just bought me a new car, and I ain't paying but 24% interest. What? Heaven is shut for you. And the earth is not yielding her fruit. The earth is taking your fruit. See? Now, I'm trying to get us to do something called thinking. I'm trying to get you to think. I want you to understand this game that we're under. And I say, okay, Lord, I understand this now. This is a law of physics. You see, law of physics says that atoms, you can kick them at a solid wall and they'll bounce back, but at the same time, they'll go through the wall. The same atom will be on both sides of the wall. Scientists can't figure this out. But that's why Jesus could speak to the wind and say, hush. Why he could tell the waters, stop. That's why Jesus could take 5 loaves and 3 fish and feed 5,000. Because he said, I see what's right here, but I need some more in that basket. So that atom could go from here, but stay here and go there and be there. Now that's how this thing works. And if God shuts heaven and earth, ain't no physics going on. Ain't nothing happening. And what you're doing, you become subject to a lower system of men. And when they tell you, no, you can't have any more than this. This is the quota. This is all you can have. If they say, listen, we don't care what you folks say, we want $4 a gallon for gas. Ain't no physics from heaven coming into that. That's purely earthly. It's all flesh, and fleshly men control it. Well, you see, if the church understood and we got real with God and ourselves, we could call those things that be not as though they were. But we can't do that. Because people who depend on grace and mercy, in other words, a handout, you ain't got no voice. If all you depending on God to do for you is give you grace and mercy, you have no voice. You cannot come to God and say, Lord, I need you to do this for me. He said, wait a minute. Who do you think you're talking to? You have done nothing. You don't pray. You don't fast. You don't do anything I tell you to do. And you think because you got out of that, you think you had some spiritual power. That was my surely grace and mercy following you. And folks under grace and mercy, black folk have no voice. You can't talk no smack because you under grace and mercy. And until we understand how to get in a place where we become, Romans 8, the whole creation is groaning, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. Why is the creation waiting for us? Because it needs some pure, holy, and righteous commanders. Right now, it's got pagan commanders. And ungodly folk are ruling the earth and telling it what to do, tearing it up, destroying it, globally warming it, digging up everything, polluting the waters, putting junk in your food. They're polluting it. And the earth is saying, where are these sons of God that can speak to us and they can command that the carbon levels come down because they can call those things that be not as though they were. You see, if Adam had understood his place, we would have had all this stuff we have today, but with no pollution, because he could have spoken and said, no, that ain't going to be. No. No. You don't need to build that engine that way. Put this in it and mix that fuel this way, and there'll be no carbon coming out of it. So there wouldn't have been this stuff. Now, he said, since Adam messed it up, I've given that to the church. And what is the church doing? Nothing.